Well, Brendan, give us a bit of a snapshot of what's happened here.
Late yesterday afternoon, police from the South Brisbane District executed a search warrant. As you can see, they've located a large amount of property, probably in excess of a dozen cars and another dozen motorcycles. As you can see, there's 4 or 5 sheds that are full of what appear to be either stolen or allegedly stolen property. At this stage, it looks like we're probably looking at in excess of $2 million worth of property. We'll be slowly processing it, and once we've identified where the thing, we'll be contacting complaints to try and return some of the property to the relevant owners.
What are we looking at here as far as who actually owns these sheds or rents these sheds?
There's a person of interest at the moment, obviously, we're talking to. He rents the sheds and runs a business here. We're not quite sure what that business is at this point, and that's one of the inquiries we'll be running out.
Does he have any links to any sort of outlaw motorcycle gangs? I mean, this is not exactly a minor haul when you look at the diversity of the products that he has.
No, he doesn't. But on the information we've got at this point, it's going to be alleged that some of the property is proceeds of crime from drug activity.
Any idea where it's come from?
All over Brisbane. Some of the property already has been located, come from break and enters in the Logan area and South Brisbane and North Brisbane.
There's some very distinct items here. That 180SX over there that's bright purple, someone's going to recognise that.
And that's right. And some of it might not be stolen, some of it might be proceeds in relation to drug activity.
And you're asking people to, if they have lost anything, to see if...
Not at this point. What we probably intend to do is we'll once we've processed it, we'll put it on the police blog, and then people can look at that, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll look at strategies in relation to returning the property.
What sort of time frame?
Look at this. Does it look sophisticated in the way that, does it look like there was a cataloguing process and all that sort of thing underway?
He's certainly got areas of different storage, so you've got like electrical goods in some area, vehicles in other areas. So he's sophisticated in that way. It would appear that it's probably quite an extensive business in relation to the property, but hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that soon.
What sort of time frames are we talking here? How long has he had these sheds, or how long's he been sort of stockpiling this stuff?
Well, it's not sure yet. We're still looking into that, but I expect we'll be here for a number of days processing. There's that much property.
Is it likely a couple of years though that he's been stockpiling this stuff?
No, not that long. A couple of months, I believe.
It's being stored here, but do you think it's also being on-sold from here, or do you think this is where do you think this sort of fits in the chain?
It would appear at this stage some of it's been on-sold or passed on, but that's obviously a line of inquiry that will run out.
And how did you come across it?
We've got a concentrated effort targeting property crime across the whole Brisbane region, and this is one of the strategies led to locating this property.
Was it a tip-off?
Yes and no. We had information from the public, but we also had our own strategies in place.
Is there anything distinct that really sticks out here? Like a particular gold watch or something that really is quite rare and.
Not really. There's cupboards full of jewellery. There's probably, I'd say, near $1 million worth of jewellery, never alone anything else. So there's just property everywhere. It's very early days, so once we've catalogued it all, we'll be in a better picture.
What makes you think that drugs might be a factor here?
Investigations to date would indicate that that's involved.
Amphetamines, heroin,
it's unclear.
What was your reaction when you walked in? I mean, you probably got an initial brief that there was a lot of equipment here, but when you walk in and you see it yourself,
I was amazed, really. It's quite extensive, and every shed you go into is full, so it just gets bigger and better.
Do you think a lot of this has been stolen from people's homes and things like that? I mean, do you think it's going to come back that way, or people have swapped it in kind for
Probably a bit of both, I'd say. There was, like the jewellery, for example, has obviously come from people's homes, but vehicles have come through stealing and also probably proceeds.
Have police had dealings with this fellow before?
Yes, we have.
Right. Any, without going into great details, rough age,
No, I don't know, I'm sorry.
Yep.
a one-man band operation?
There's 2 people being spoken to at the moment.
But they certainly, they've been the ones that have been collecting.
No. I'd say we're looking at the possibility that they may be receivers of the property, but that's still unclear.
When we walked in, there's cars just parked out in the open. It's almost like they had too much stuff. It was like an overflow.
And that's why it's unclear as to where it all fits. Like, as I say, some will be proceeds and some will be stolen. And whilst it's off the road, it's in the open, but it's not. Like, unless you came down here, you wouldn't know this place existed.
Well, what have the neighbouring businesses told you? Have
they
been helpful?
They are very helpful. They're quite cooperative, and they're giving us information as we come across things and things like that. So
will they suss at all about just what all this stuff is doing here?
Yes and no. People go, a lot of people mind their own business, and unfortunately, if more people stood up, we'd probably be able, as a community, tackle crime in a better way.
Not a bad windfall for the state's coffers, though, if some of this stuff is proceeds of crime, I guess.
Well, hopefully a lot of it will go back to their owners.
Yep.
Brendan, what will be the result if people don't come forward and within a reasonable amount of time? Does does this end up in a police auction or something?
Some of it will end up in police auction, some of it will be forfeit to the Crown. It just depends on what we end up charging them in relation to which piece of property.
And the equipment we've got here, is it all used material?
No, there's some motorbikes in there, for example, that look like they've never been used. So it's some brand new things.
This is the biggest you've ever seen, mate?
Certainly in the last few years, we've had some big hauls in the past, but this is right up there.
How long do you expect this to take you to Capital?
I expect a couple of days. I think we'll be here over the weekend.
Those persons that end up charged, will they end up with literally 1,000 charges, if you find 1,000 items, or do they find out just one overall sort of...
Depends what we can identify. If they've come from particular offences, we would charge them with those particular offences. But if it's tainted or something like that, we would be looking at charges along those property relating to drugs or property relating to stealing, receiving of stealing, things like that.
But potentially it could be
It's unlikely. There'll be probably hundreds, but I wouldn't say thousands.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks.
Thank you.